Hello out there once again to all my fellow Fix-It employees. Welcome back to another episode of How to Satisfactory. So, at this point, if you guys have been following along, you should have a factory that is actually starting to look like a factory. Now, I do know that episode 13, being the live stream, was a little long, and there was a lot to take in on that, and it might have been a little hard to follow along with me. So if you guys are trying to make yours exactly like mine, you may not have it exactly the way it is, but that was more or less, the whole video was just kind of to help you learn how to customize and everything. So it was more of a guideline, and I would actually much prefer you guys to kind of do your own thing, basically. Do your own little journey, make your factory unique to you, and not just a complete copy of the building shape and stuff that I did. But, you know, if you feel like doing the same shape and stuff, then obviously feel free to do so. I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm just saying, you know, it's I just wanted to teach you guys how to do things on your own, kind of, and come up with your own designs and stuff. That was the whole point of that live stream, was just to kind of teach you some customizing options. So hopefully you guys learned something out of that maybe you didn't know by that point. But maybe at this point, most of you probably have already surpassed where we are at this, and are just waiting on me to get to a point where you're like having trouble with. But not sure how long it's going to take to get to that point, but I still kind of like to go through everything. That's what this whole walkthrough and everything is. But yeah, that was the episode 13. And in episode 12, I taught you guys about the best alternate recipes for where we are currently at in the game. And out of those alternate recipes, 3 of those are some that we're going to go back into more detail today and try to maybe integrate that into our factory. Number 1 being the cast screws. Making screws, instead of making them out of the rods, we are going to be making screws completely out of iron ingots now. And we should be able to make a few more of the screws than what we are being able to produce right now, a little easier. So that's what this entire episode is going to be about today. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump on into that. So one of the first things we're going to do is get kind of prepared for what we're going to need. Now, let's head up to our hub, wherever you have, however you have a way up to your hub anyway. And we're going to take a look at the hub terminal here. We're going to go into Tier 4, and what we want to do is we want to go to Advanced Steel Production. Now, in Advanced Steel Production, we are going to get the Miner Mark II, which is a very important for what we're going to be doing today. It's going to basically mine more iron from our nodes or anywhere else that we can put it on. So this is a biggie. We're also going to be able to get the option of being able to produce encased industrial beams, stators, rotors, heavy modular frames, and the automated wiring, which we will need for our next phase. All of this, we're not going to deal with any of this other stuff today, but that Miner Mark II is the most important thing here. So I'm going to select that as our milestone. And if we have anything in your inventory that you can put in there, see, like I have tons of this wire right now, so I'm just going to hold down Control, throw that in there, hold down Control for the concrete. I don't have any rotors or steel pipes, but I do have enough being made right now, probably in inventory. So let's head down to our inventory containers down here. And if you cannot remember which of these boxes what you're looking for is in, always remember that you can always bring up your tool, highlight over top of one of the storage containers, and it will tell you what's in it. You will see, like, this one here has 4,800 cables in it, so that one's completely full of cables. That one has reinforced iron plates. But what we are looking for is, of course, rotors and pipes. And I happen to know that those are more down towards the end down there. That one there has 200 rotors in it, so that's perfect. We need 200 rotors. That one has smart plating. That one has modular frames. That right there is our steel pipes. So let's head over to those two, grab what we need out of those. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and grab a couple of stacks of steel pipes. One to put into our tier up there that we're going to do, and one just to have on me at all times. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to just grab all of the rotors out of there. Go ahead, it's okay, we'll make more. And then the next thing we're going to need is some concrete, because I didn't have enough of that. So I'm just going to jump off of here. We're going to head outside, because as of yet, I still haven't done anything with this concrete out here. So it's still just kind of hanging out here outside of our factory. So I'm going to just go ahead and grab a stack. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab three stacks of concrete because I'll probably be making more stuff. Alright, let's head back inside and back up to our second level up here. And then all the way back up to our hub terminal, where we will then throw everything we need into there. So there we go, the rotors, the pipes, and the concrete. And that's everything. So you guys, again, should have all of this. It's just hanging out in your containers down there. So just go ahead and grab all that. Once you get it all in there and are ready, go ahead, push that big red button. Alright, fantastic guys. Now at this point you should have the Mark II miners, and we're going to get to those in just a second and use them, but let's go ahead and start getting it ready for what we're going to need that for. Now, as I said, this episode is all going to be about using those alternate recipes into our factory. So if you don't have these alternate recipes, obviously you won't be going about this, but if you've got the cast screws, what we'll go ahead and do is delete these two constructors right here. And also delete the belts that was putting the rods into it. And go ahead and delete this merger and all the other belts right here. Also, don't forget your conveyor poles. You don't want those in the way either. Or that power pole. There we go. Now, come over here. Do the exact same thing to the ones on the other side. So we're going to delete the two constructors. We're going to delete the conveyor belts feeding those two constructors. We are going to delete the extra conveyor belts coming out, the merger, the conveyor poles. We're going to delete that power pole and that power pole there, or any power poles you had going to it. Just be careful not to disconnect your power that you have going anywhere else. So you guys know how you wired it more than I know how you wired it. So there we go. Get rid of all of that. And then at this point we can kind of jump down here and make sure we're just clearing out this area. And get these last two conveyor belts and conveyor poles out of the way here. Now we're going to keep these two smart splitters right here. We definitely want to keep the smart splitters. And we want to delete these splitters right here. And the two on the other side as well. And at this point, all of the conveyor belts that you have that are still Mark I, you can go ahead and you should have enough material now that you can convert these over to Mark II. So if you get an opportunity, just go through, convert all of your belts over to Mark II. Now there where the splitters were, we're going to connect those two belts together, like so, to get rid of those gaps. And then there we go, and yes, let's see, that's a Mark 1, that's a Mark 1, that's a Mark 1. There we go. All right, so yeah, that should take care of that. And I think a lot of these belts down through here are also Mark 1 right now, so we need to upgrade those as well if you haven't already in your game. All right, so that should keep the rods flowing for the moment. Now we have these two areas right here that are completely clean. Now, this area in here is going to be a little tight to work with. So what we're going to do is we are going to copy the constructor we have here. Now, if you can't remember how to make a copy, because I did actually get asked this on one of my videos here recently. I just got a comment from somebody who said, how do you copy the things again? Well, in Update 5, you bring up your tool, you highlight whatever you want to copy, and you click your middle mouse button, your scroll wheel down. And that will copy what you have. Now, if you're in Update 6, you don't even have to bring up your tool to make a copy. You can just point at something, click your middle mouse button, and it will copy it, which is really neat for Update 6. But for our how-to series, I'm not playing on Update 6. We're still in Update 5. So, all right, now, what we want to do is we want to come over to the foundation square right here next to the conveyor belt. And we are going to turn these so the output is facing us, or facing the inside, I should say. We're going to line that up right there, right on that square. One, and we're going to put the other one right there. And then while we're at it, go ahead, turn around, get the other two on the other side here as well. Now make sure your guidelines, you can see that everything is lined up right. There we go. Bring it down here. Put your second one there. And there we go. All right. Now, grab a merger and bring it out in front of the constructors here. So again, make sure it's lined up perfectly, and make sure that you have your outputs and inputs the right direction. Guidelines telling me yes, that is correct. Alright, and then I'm going to go ahead and get these two here. Make sure again everything's lined up right. And there we go. That looks right to me as far as I can tell anyway. Now we're going to connect our belts. So again, mark II belts. Connect. And then connect to that. Get these two. Connect. So basically we're putting conveyor belts from our machines feeding into these two mergers. And then we're going to put a line in between these two mergers so that they are connected. Like so. And then last but not least, make sure these two mergers are going into that one. To our smart splitters here that are already there. Now, you don't want to connect these two together. You want to leave those two alone, so just make sure it's going that way. Now again, it is a tight spot, and hopefully you guys were able to follow along with that, but that's essentially what we're doing there. Is we're just adding two mergers, the same as we've done with all the other machines down through here. We got mergers in front of it to bring our screws forward. Now we need to get out of here, so I'm kind of a little stuck. There we go. Alright, we'll just slide under it and then out. Alright, now we're going to come down to this side. And now what we're going to do is we are going to grab a splitter. We're going to put it feeding into each of those. So right into the feeders right there. That's good. Right there. And right there. Alright, hopefully I got everything lined up. I didn't make any mistakes there. Sometimes that happens. And then connect these up with conveyor belts down through here. There we go. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come down here to where our belts are kind of coming up this way with the ingots. As you can see, it's kind of feeding down right here and into this splitter. What we're going to do is we're going to remove right before it goes into the splitter right there. Essentially what we're doing is we're turning this smelter that's producing the ingots only feeding to these two with these screws down here. So what we're going to do is go ahead and again, if these are Mark 1, make sure you go ahead and upgrade those to Mark 2. Like that. There we go. And then we're going to connect these Mark 2s. We're going to bring this over to, I like right about here. Like right next to the conveyor belt. Looks pretty good to me. Make sure it's in line. There we go. That's in line right there. And then click up once. There we go. And then connect that to that. Now the problem with this is that I didn't quite get this lined up, as you can see. So you see how it's kind of crooked there? So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and remove these and fix them back. Alright, and then connect these two back together like that. Okay, now it's in line with our belts. So hopefully you guys didn't mess up like I did just then. But like I said, accidents can sometimes happen when you're building stuff like this. Don't worry about it if it happened to you. Even it happens to the best of us. We always can make mistakes. Alright, now we now have ingots flowing into these two machines here. What you want to do is go to the other side and do the same thing on the other side. And I also had somebody, had a couple of comments where people were saying they lost me when I had said go ahead and do it, just mirror it on the other side. So I'll just show you guys again what we're doing here. So we are going to grab a splitter. We're going to put it in line right there with that. That looks correct. Bring that down here like that. Sometimes your guidelines can be a little off. Sometimes you get multiple guidelines, so it's kind of a little hard to tell where you want things once you get a bunch of stuff being built like this. And we'll just connect these together like that. And again, we're going to come down here, make sure all of these belts are Mark II belts like that. We can delete this one going into this last splitter here, and we're going to take that, we're going to bring it all the way down here, right here to that, make sure it's lined up. That looks good. Raise it up one and then connect into the splitter. Alright, so now those ingots are going to flow down through here. So what we're going to do is all of these other constructors are going to be fed from the 2 inner smelters there, and leaving this smelter on the end, only making enough to feed these down here now. So, alright. Next, what we're going to do is we are going to come down here where this one is coming into this machine. What we're going to do is take that out right there. Go ahead and upgrade those. Don't forget to do that. Make sure you get it all the way back, because there's going to be a lot of ingots coming in here, and we no longer want Mark 1. Hopefully you guys have already kind of done that. So we want to delete that conveyor pole right there, and we'll go ahead and delete this conveyor belt right there too, so we have a gap in between these two. And we're going to take and we're going to copy that splitter, and we're going to put it right there behind that constructor. So now it's going to come from this splitter to that splitter, from that splitter to that splitter. There we go. And again, I'm going to go ahead and upgrade these lines. I should have done that a long time ago, and I'm just now getting around to it. Alright. There we go. So, again, 2 inner smelters on the inside. All are going into this line and feeding into all of these machines down through here. The last smelter is only feeding these 2 down here. Now these 2 are going to be, we're going to walk up to the constructors, walk up to it, configure, and look for the alternate cast screw. Now make sure you have the alternate cast screw recipe before you take out your other ones. Otherwise you got to go back and rebuild all this because you didn't have this recipe. But if you do have this recipe, that's what this episode is all about, is the alternate recipes, and it's adding them to your factory to use those alternate recipes. So we're going to choose alternate cast screw, not steel screw. Even though steel screw is better because it does produce more, you'll have to send beams over to it somehow, and right now we're not configured for that. So we're going to use the alternate cast screws, and that converts ingots, just straight iron ingots, straight into screws without having to make the iron rods. There we go. And do this to all 4 of the new constructors that we've built. And again, don't forget to do this on the other side here. Don't forget to add that splitter in there. And then connect those up and change those over into Mark II belts. There we go. Like right there. See, I got to convert that into a Mark II, convert that into a Mark II. And that all looks good down through here. And don't forget to get your inner lines as well. Right in there. See, that one is a Mark II, but see how I didn't get that one? So I'm just going to get those corners. There. Now, that's all pretty good there. And then, of course, all of the belts on the inside. You can also turn those into Mark IIs. Also, don't forget to get the ones that are feeding into the machines or out of the machines. Right on the inside there as well. To make the Mark II belts, you need the reinforced plates. So if you happen to run out of reinforced plates, just remember, you can always head back up to your containers and grab more. And remember, don't forget to upgrade your belts in between the splitters into the machines there too, see? Because those are still Mark I's for me, so they probably are for you as well. There we go. Alright, that should be good. Let's see, everything is going right. Okay, now our next thing is we're going to come down here, and what we're going to do is we're going to convert our miners into Mark II miners. And the way we do that is you can go into Q, bring up your construction menu, go down to production. Now you should have the miner Mark II. Now, in order to make a miner Mark II, we're going to need a few things. We're going to need 2 of the portable miners. We're going to need 10 of the encased steel beams. We're going to need 20 pipes and 10 modular frames. So you may not have encased beams on you. Remember, you can always go up to any actual craft bench and make those on your own. You don't have to worry about a machine making those. You can make them at the craft bench. You don't need that many, only 10, and you should have concrete and beams and stuff to make those. Now we are going to need a portable miner though, because we you can count one of these as the one that's actually in it right now, but we are going to need a second one. So let's go make a couple of portable miners real quick. Remember, those can be made in your equipment workshop if you're trying to figure out where to make those at. I know it's been a while since we messed around with my portable miners, but we are going to need, let's see, we have 3 miners, so we're going to need 3 extra portable miners. Make sure you have the space in it. As you can see here, I don't have any space. I do have these iron ingots though, so I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of those because I don't need those right now at the moment. So that's one spot. And finding that third spot is a little difficult, so I think I have, let's see here, 2 of these smart plates on me. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to remove those 2 smart plates. Now that gives me a spot for 3 of these, which I will make 3 of them now. Alright, now that we have our 3 portable miners, head down here to our miners, bring up your build menu, and find the miner Mark II. Grab it, highlight over top of the miner Mark I's that we already have out here, and you will see it will just upgrade it to a Mark II. Let's do that to all of them here. See this last one? It says I don't have enough. Wait, what don't I have? Okay, for some weird reason it's telling me I don't have enough miners to upgrade that, even though I should. With the one that's actually, I guess it's saying I don't have the second one on me because it's part of the machine and therefore it won't upgrade it like that. That's really odd. But okay, we'll go make one more miner. I feel like that used to work, but okay, whatever. Alright, so now we should have enough. Let's go ahead and upgrade that one. There we go. And yeah, as you can see, it took the miner that was in that one and put it in my inventory. Huh, okay. Like I said, I still feel like we used to do that. Alright, so now, these are Mark II miners. Mark II miners are automatically getting 120 per minute out of these guys. So that's pretty good. Not only that, if you had any power shards that was in these, we no longer need those power shards. We're just going to produce all of like 120 iron per minute just out of these guys. Now that 120 per minute won't do any good if you don't upgrade all of your belts out here as well. So make sure all of your belts going into and from, see like these right here aren't upgraded. There we go. So we'll just upgrade as many belts as you can find. Just check all of your belts out here. Make sure all your belts are good. Alright, so next up is our smelters here. Let's go ahead and check our smelter. I currently have 2 power shards in this smelter, making 100 ingots per minute. We're going to go ahead and slap a third one in there. Alright, there we go. Alright, now that we got our Mark II miners down there, we've got them, all the lines, the conveyor belts upgraded to Mark II lines, and everything is now working smoothly. We need to get power down here to our machines right here, so that way we can start producing screws. Because as you can see, our ingots are backed up here because these 2 aren't working and not doing anything, and it's causing a problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect power to this. Now, normally, as you can see here, we just ran power down through here using these poles, but let's clean this up a little bit. Let's make this a little nicer. We should already have access. If you go into your build menu and you go into power section, you should see that you have the wall outlet Mark I's. If you don't have these, you can purchase them in the shop using a couple of coupons, but you should have them by now because I think one of our videos I talked about getting these. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect a power line to our screw constructor, and I'm going to line it up right here, right on the edge of this platform, like so. I'm going to do the same thing with the other one. Going to make sure it's perfectly lined up. If you're not OCD like me, it doesn't matter. But, you know, I'm very OCD. And then I'm just going to connect these down through here like this. And see, I know that that's going to be right there, so I'll just connect that to that. And then we're going to jump over to the other machine, and I'm going to connect. Now, as you can see with these 2, now I already removed the power line from this one, but you can see how the power line's connected to this one. We can't connect anything else to it, so we got to disconnect it from the power first, and then now we can just go to power line, bring it up like so, and then run that over to that. There we go. And I would say don't delete these power poles just yet, because sometimes you got to watch what you delete when you're deleting power lines. because sometimes you could delete something and then you'll end up with power not going to something, and it's a huge pain to try to track down. So I don't know how you guys have your power and everything. This is how I read mine. So yeah, just be careful of that. But yeah, we're gonna run down here. We're gonna get to the next machine down here. I gotta climb up on top of it here. Now this one here, if you followed all of my guidelines so far, you'll probably have a couple of platforms right above this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete these two platforms real quick, like so, and then just keep doing what I've been doing by connecting the power lines. I have to delete the power line there and delete that power line there, and then we're just going to connect there to there and there to there, and then just keep it down the line. Alright, and then I'm going to go all the way down to the edge, like that. And then I'm going to place these platforms back over top of here, how they were. Just put the ones back that we removed. Alright, now, I'm going to see that we have a power line here coming up. So what I'm going to do is connect a power line. We're going to go around the corner and put one on the edge like that. And then run that. I don't know where I'm going to run that, actually. Let's see. Let's run it to the inside. There's a gap right down here on the bottom. So yeah, that kind of works. I'll just do that. Yes. Right there. And then run it. We'll put it right above, right here on this corner. Right there. And then run it down to that. There we go. That works for me. And then now, as you can see, everything just powered up. We have ingots going down. We have those two machines right there. Now, everything I just did with the power lines, and I'm going to say this, hoping you guys can follow along, do the exact same thing on the other side. Connect all your power lines down through there so that you have them up out of the way. You don't have to do this. You could just put a pole down. I'm just doing this, and I'm showing you guys how to do it to make it a little bit cleaner on your power lines. And then at some point we'll clean these up a little later. I'm just going to leave them because I got to track down all those cables. That's something you guys can do in your spare time when you get a moment. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and connect this side up now. So I will see you in just a moment. Alright, all my power is now ran once again, and all of our machines are now constructing again. We're getting screws being made here. Now let's take a look at our screws here. We are making 50 per minute with absolutely no power shards in this, and only using 12.5 iron ingots. Now, if we run down here to the end, let's see how many of these we're actually making right now. So we are making 60 per minute with 2 power shards in it. Now, I haven't changed this from the last video when we kind of adjusted all of this. So 2 power shards in this machine is using 60 iron ore and making 60 iron ingots per minute. So that's 60 we have to play with. So let's come down here to our 2 screw machines down here. Let's take a look in there. So 12.5. If I put a power shard in that and max that out, let's see. Now we're making 75 per minute, and we're using 18.75. Okay. Well, we have 60 to play with, so we could have this going 30. Let's put another power shard in there. Okay, so with 2 power shards in our cast screw constructor, it's going to be making 100 screws per minute in just one, and 25 ingots being used per minute. Now, that's not quite 30, but that's pretty close. So let's head over to the other one, and I like this. So I'm going to go ahead and throw 2 power shards in this one as well. There we go. Which means we no longer need 60 iron ingots coming down this way. So this is just kind of going to get backed up down here. So let's head up here. We're going to have this where it's only using 50 instead of 60. So to do that, I'll just come down here where it says how many we're making, our target, and I'm just going to change that to 50 right there, which is about 166.6667%. Alright, that looks like kind of an evil number there, but okay, sure. Anyway, it's going to be using 50 iron ore per minute, and making 50 per minute of these. So I'm fine with that. All right, let's do the exact same thing to the other side over here. So let's head over to our other screw machines over here. Let's get this one here first, and we're gonna put 2 shards in this one. Max that out with 2 of them. Come over here to this one. Again, 2 shards. Max it out all the way to the top. Now that's 25 and 25, that's 50. We're going to come down here. And we're going to change the target production rate right here to 50 per minute. And there we go. That's not bad. Now, obviously, these are producing more iron than we actually need. So we could cut down on a little power right over here if we go to this miner. And we just make sure that we are only producing 100 right here instead. So we can just go down here to target production rate and change that to 100. There we go. And that's only going to use 9 megawatts of power instead of 12. So we're saving 3 megawatts just by changing that down. And we're still producing enough iron that we can actually work with on this. Now the thing to remember is that we cut off all of these down here. So all of these machines are now actually using only all the iron ingots from one. So as you can see, probably not getting enough iron ingots down through here. So we need to fix that. So let's see how many we have being produced and needed down through here. So this one needs 30 per minute. Okay, so that's 30. This one's also 30. That's 60 right there. And then we have another 30 here. That's 90. And another 30 here. That's 120. Okay, so we need to make sure that we are producing enough of that. So let's take a look at this one right here. Now this one right here is definitely producing 120 right here. It's being split in between these two. And these two are only making 30. So let's go ahead and figure out the math on this one. Alright, looks like we are going to need 2 power shards in this to produce 60 here and 60 over here. So I'll throw 2 into each of these. There we go. Now I personally only have 2 power shards left, so that could be a problem. But luckily I have some blue slugs up here in my container that I can actually make into some extra shards here. And that should be just enough. If you don't have enough, always remember you can just go out adventuring for more. If you watched my episode 13.5, there was a few yellow power slugs out and about if you go to the right towards the quartz up that way. Alright, so we know that we need 120 iron to run all these machines down through here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to throw 2 more shards into this machine. So basically each and every one of our smelters need 2 power shards in it. So make sure you put 2 in all of these. Now when it comes back to our miner, there's one more thing we need to change here, and that's why you need to go back over here to this, and we need to change this back up so it's at 100% to make 120. Because even though we're only using 50 on this one needs 60 iron to make the 60 iron ingots. So we're still going to get enough, but this way we make sure nothing is backed up and nothing. We make sure everything is running more efficiently. Even though this one is just, there's, you know, we don't need 60 into this, we need 60 into that. So that's like 110. But rather than make 110 and then have to figure out how this is going to get divided that way, it's just best just run it at 120 max and be done with it. Make sure that you haven't changed. If you did change this one over here to 100, let's make sure that it is also at 120. All right, now that should do it. We have 100 coming out that way to feed our screws down there. We have 60, that's 120 to run 4 of these constructors. This one, which makes plates, this one, which makes plates, this one, which makes rods, and this one, which makes rods. And you should be good. Alright guys, so there we have it. We have now added the cast screws into our machine network here, and we've done it as efficiently as I can possibly think of. A couple of things we could do later on if we needed to would be to come down here. We could add another smelter next to this one, and we could split this line here and just basically add some power shards into this miner here, so we have more coming out. We could add more power shards in the middle ones so that these are producing enough. So it would require a little more work, but if we need more screws, we could most certainly do that. Now this video has run a little longer than I thought it was going to, so I don't have time in this video to do the other machine network with the assemblers and stuff, with the rotors and the stitched iron plates, but I will be back in a few days with another one for that one. That way this video isn't that long and you guys can kind of take in this much knowledge so far that I've already gave to you, and I'm not over flooding you with just more information and stuff. So we'll just make that a separate video where we work on the upstairs part. But that's gonna do it from here in Satisfactory. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. You guys are awesome. I'm glad that my tutorials are helping so many people out there. I get so many great comments about that. If you've enjoyed this, if you've been watching the series and you're enjoying the series, you've not yet subscribed to the channel, please do so. Definitely do that. I know that a lot of you who are watching my videos out there are not actually subscribed, so it would mean a lot to me if you would to actually just hit that subscribe button. You don't have to do the notifications if you don't to, but that would also be good. And that's really all I ask for producing all this content for you, is just that if you like it, subscribe, because you're obviously watching it, so it would just be a huge favor to me if you was to do that. Alright, so that's gonna do it. I'm gonna head out of here. Again, thank you so much, guys. You are very welcome for the tutorials. I love making these, and we're gonna try to get back into a regular schedule of doing more Satisfactory videos. That's pretty much all I have to say. So wherever you are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. I'll see you in the next video.